Hello, my name is Savannah Mirza, and this is my comparative anatomy video presentation on respiratory and circulatory systems of various phyla. So the respiratory system is how we move oxygen/waste gases throughout our body, and organs which involve the respiratory system are trachea and lungs, whereas the circulatory system is what moves the movement of materials throughout the body, and this involves the heart and lungs. Now, there are two different types of circulatory systems. First, open circulatory is less efficient as the fluid is not contained through vessels or veins or capillaries, whereas with a closed circulatory system, the blood is entirely contained within the vessels, making it much more efficient. So to start off, platyhelminthes, I chose ribbon worms. How they breathe is because they lack specialized gills, their respiration occurs over the surface of the body. This is a process called cutaneous respiration. And for circulation, they have a closed circulatory system and no heart or pumping vessels. Therefore, the flow of fluid depends on the contraction of both vessels and the body's wall muscle. And because it's closed, the blood is always contained, obviously. So my next example is annelids or earthworms. And earthworms have no special respiratory organs. And remember, annelids or earthworms, there are segmented worms. So each segment of them has all of the organs needed to survive independently of one another. So if it's amputated, it can survive without the amputee. They have a closed circulatory system. However, they don't have a true heart. Instead, they have these 5 aortic arches, which you can see right here. And they have no lungs, so they also use cutaneous respiration to exchange oxygen through their skin. Next up, mollusks. I chose snail. Mollusks breathe through the gas cavity, through in the roof of their shell, in this little cavity where gas is exchanged and it goes all in. Snails also have an open circulatory system, and this is true to all mollusks except for cephalopods, which are aquatic. And their heart, they have a two-chambered heart, which consists of an atrium and a ventricle, and they use their lungs to breathe, as stated there. And here's a little diagram. Next up, arthropods. I chose the spider. Spiders breathe using these things called book lungs. They're folded pockets of internal fluid. You can think of it like an accordion. So when you open up an accordion, it's like twice as big as it was folded. So like for the lungs, if you want it to be the most efficient it can be, then you want the most surface area that there can be. So folding it gives it more surface area while still being compact enough to fit in that tiny little area right there. And they have a open circulatory system. However, they do not have true blood or veins to move it. Instead, they have hemolymph, and this acts as blood, carrying oxygen and other nutrients throughout the body. Their heart is not divided into chambers, unlike the mollusk. Next up, chordates. I chose the amphibian frog. They also, as well as previous animals, species, use cutaneous respiration to obtain oxygen through their skin. However, they also use buccal respiration. So the mouth tissue is thin and dense with blood vessels, which allows for gas to directly diffuse. And they also inhale through their nares, which are basically nostrils. They have a 3-chambered heart, which contains of 2 atria and 1 atriums and 1 ventricle, and they use double circulation, which is more advanced because it uses 2 loops instead of 1, so that the 2 loops can go to different places and be more efficient. My final example is a rat. Rats breathe so something interesting about the rat's respiratory system is that they have a diaphragm. You'll probably notice that us humans also have a diaphragm, so this is really significant because it shows the evolutionary of how we are related to rats. And so their trachea, it's right here. It's this tube where they breathe in oxygen. It divides into a left and right bronchus, as you can see here. They're pretty much mirrors of each other. Their circulatory system, they have they have pulmonary arteries and veins, so it separates the oxygenated and deoxygenated blood from the lungs, and it does all that. So, to conclude, we observed how the evolution of different species within each phylum compare to one another, in that up until the rat, each phylum relied on the moisture in their environments to obtain oxygen by either using cutaneous respiration to breathe through their skin or using gills for the aquatic animals. And this is significant as it highlights the, so to say, leap between organisms who are more adapted to their moist environments versus the more complex organisms that cannot breathe in water and rely solely on unfiltered oxygen. So yes, thank you. I hope you learned something.